My name is Riley Camden, and I'm 31 years old. Until a few days ago, I would have told you my life was neatly organized into color-coded calendar blocks and shared Google Docs. I had a fiancé, a wedding 3 months away, deposits paid, guest list finalized, and a Pinterest board full of things like rustic but modern centerpieces and subtle bridal makeup that still looks like you. I had a future that looked like a straight line: engagement, a wedding, house, maybe kids. And then my fiancé dumped me via text message in a bakery parking lot and drove straight to his ex-girlfriend's house. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Jason and I had been together for 2 years, engaged for 7 months. If you saw us at a party, you'd probably think, they make sense. He worked in tech sales, charming, quick with a joke, always on. I worked in project operations for a logistics company, organized, calm, the person who quietly made sure everything actually happened when it was supposed to. He was the highlight reel. I was the back-end system that kept things from crashing. We'd already picked a venue, a renovated brick warehouse with string lights and exposed beams. Our parents had met. My mom was already practicing pronouncing his parents' last name correctly. His sister Melissa had happily agreed to stand on his side at the ceremony. The invitations had just gone out the week before. The cake tasting was supposed to be the fun part. We booked a Tuesday afternoon appointment at this very Instagrammable bakery downtown. White marble counters, glass cases full of perfect pastries, the whole place smelling like vanilla and butter and sugar. I got there 10 minutes early because that's who I am. Jason was 15 minutes late because that's who he is. When he walked in, he kissed my cheek, but his eyes were somewhere else. He kept his phone in his hand, screen down, but never far away. "You okay?" I asked as we sat at the small round table by the window. "Yeah, just work," he said, giving me a quick smile. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was insane." He always said traffic was insane, even when it wasn't. The baker came out with a tray of cake samples that looked like miniature art pieces. Vanilla bean with raspberry filling, dark chocolate with salted caramel, almond with lemon curd. She walked us through each flavor like a sommelier explaining wine. I took a bite of the vanilla bean and actually closed my eyes for a second because it was that good. "Oh my God," I said, laughing. "I'd marry this cake." Jason gave a polite laugh, but he barely touched his. He cut off a tiny corner, chewed mechanically, then set his fork down. "Not a fan?" I asked. "It's fine," he said. "They're all kind of similar." I glanced at him. "You just started. We've got like 3 more flavors. Give it a chance, Mr. Harsh Critic." The baker brought out the next set. I tried them, made comments about texture and sweetness, like I was hosting a food show. Jason nodded, gave vague answers, checked his phone every time he thought I wasn't looking. Something was off. It wasn't the normal, work is stressful off. It was that quiet, distant kind of off, where the other person is in the room but already mentally packing a suitcase. I felt it like a draft under a locked door. At one point, I reached across the table and rested my hand on his. "Hey," I said softly, "you seem miles away. Are you sure everything's okay?" He pulled his hand back to adjust his cuff, not quite looking at me. "It's fine, Riley. I'm just tired. Long week." "It's Tuesday," I said lightly, trying to keep it from sounding like an accusation. He didn't laugh. We finished the last round of cake samples in near silence. I kept trying to make little jokes, reference flavors, ask his opinion. He gave one-syllable answers. The baker, sensing tension but too professional to comment, smiled brightly and said she'd grab the contract and pricing breakdown. As soon as she disappeared through the swinging door, Jason pushed his chair back. "I need to go," he said. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. "Go where? We're about to talk contracts." I can't do this right now." His leg bounced under the table. "This, as in cake?" I asked, forcing a smile. "Because we can totally reschedule if you're swamped with—" "This," he repeated, gesturing vaguely between us, the table, the pastel samples. "I can't do this right now." My stomach dropped in a slow, sickening way. "Jason, what are you talking about?" He didn't answer. He grabbed his coat, his phone, his keys. "Jason," my voice came out sharper than I intended. "We're in the middle of a meeting. Can you at least wait 5 minutes so we can—" "I'll text you," he said, already walking away. I watched his back as he left, the bell over the bakery door chiming cheerfully, like this was just another Tuesday. The baker came back out with a neat folder in her hands and a practiced smile on her face. "Okay," she said. "So for servings and frosting Oh, where did your fiancé go?" I swallowed, feeling my throat tighten. "He just had to step out for a second. I'm not sure. I think we might need to pause on the contract. Her smile faltered, compassion slipping through. Of course. Do you want to take the paperwork home? Think it over? No, I said, surprising myself with how steady I sounded. Let's just hold off for now. I'll let you know. I managed to make it outside before my hands started shaking. The parking lot was half empty, afternoon sun bouncing off windshields. Jason's car was already gone. I pulled my phone out, expecting a text that said something like, "Sorry, minor emergency. Be right back." Something that would make this feel less like a slow-motion collapse. Nothing. I called him, straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. The third time my call rang once and then stopped. Declined. I was still staring at my screen when his message came through. I can't marry you. I need someone more exciting. You're not on my level. I'm sorry. For a moment, I thought I was reading someone else's phone. The words didn't make sense in the order they'd appeared. Not on his level. We'd picked out furniture together, chosen paint colors, argued about whether to get a sectional or a regular couch. He'd cried when he proposed. He'd told me I was his home. And now in 4 short lines I was beneath him somehow? I don't know how long I stood there. Long enough for the sun to feel too bright, for the sounds of traffic to turn into a dull roar in my ears. Long enough for the baker to step outside, glance at me, and very deliberately pretend she hadn't seen my face. Eventually, my body remembered how to move. I went back inside, walked up to the counter, found the baker, and heard myself say, "We need to cancel our order." Her eyes widened, then softened. "Are you sure?" "Yeah," I said. "He just broke off the engagement, over text." I let out a small, humorless laugh. "In your parking lot, sorry, I'm not at my best right now." "You don't have to apologize," she said quietly. "We'll waive the cancellation fee. Just take care of yourself, okay?" I nodded, thanked her, and left with empty hands. The drive home is a blur. I remember stopping at red lights because other cars did. I remember my turn signal clicking. I remember gripping the steering wheel so tightly my fingers ached. By the time I got to our apartment, something about the hallway felt wrong. Lighter, somehow. Inside, the wrongness snapped into focus. Some of Jason's things were gone. Not everything, just essentials. A row of empty hangers, where his favorite shirts had been. The drawer where he kept his chargers and random cables was half empty. His toothbrush missing from the holder in the bathroom, leaving a little toothpaste ring behind like a ghost. No note, no explanation beyond that text. He'd planned this. He hadn't panicked in the bakery and then made a rash decision. He'd taken what he needed, left what he didn't, and then detonated our life together in between cake samples. I sank onto the couch, phone still clutched in my hand. The room felt both familiar and suddenly hostile. Everything we'd chosen together now staging evidence against me. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just went quiet inside. After a while, I did the only thing I could think of. I called my best friend. Noah picked up on the second ring. "Hey, future bride," he said, cheerful. "How's the cake? Did you find my slice yet?" I swallowed. Jason called off the wedding. Silence, then, "What?" "He walked out of the bakery," I said, staring at the blank TV screen. "Texted me in the parking lot that he can't marry me, that I'm not on his level. When I got home, he'd already taken some of his stuff." Noah didn't speak for a long few seconds. I could hear him breathing, could almost see him pacing whatever room he was in. "Riley," he said finally, "I am so sorry. I don't even know what to say. That's..." He broke off, exhaled hard. "That's cruel." "Yeah," I said. My voice sounded flat, like it belonged to someone else. He hesitated. "Look, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to start drama, but Jason's ex is back in town." My fingers tightened around the phone. "His ex?" "Brittany," he said. "The one he dated before you. 3 years. The one who dumped him and moved to the West Coast." I knew the name. I'd heard the stories. The intense but toxic relationship he swore he'd outgrown. The woman he insisted he'd never go back to. "When?" I asked. "I saw her at the gym yesterday," Noah said. "She asked how he was doing. It was weird." I stared at the ceiling. "Do you think this has something to do with her?" "I don't know," he said carefully, "but the timing is really suspicious." After we hung up, I sat there in the dimming light, the pieces rearranging themselves in my head into a picture I didn't want to look at. Jason didn't just decide I wasn't exciting enough in the middle of a cake tasting. This wasn't about vanilla bean versus chocolate. This was about something or someone else. Hours later, sometime around 11, I remembered that months ago, we'd set up a shared cloud account so we could sync calendars and photos. And stupidly, locations. It was one of those couple things that seemed romantic at the time. Just so we always know where the other is, he'd said. My heart started pounding as I grabbed my laptop and logged in. For a second, I saw my own location pinned at our apartment. Then I switched to his profile. A map appeared, zoomed out. I watched as it refined, zeroing in on a familiar part of town, a street I recognized. He was at a small blue dot, parked outside a house I'd driven past once with him, a house he'd pointed to and said, "That's where Brittany's mom lives. I spent a lot of time there back in the day." The little label over the pin confirmed the address. Jason had walked out of our cake tasting, texted me that I wasn't on his level, and then driven straight to his ex-girlfriend's house. The worst part wasn't the shock. It was how, deep down, some small, tired part of me wasn't surprised at all. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd swallowed concrete. For a few seconds, in that blurry space between sleep and reality, my brain tried to play the old tape. Wedding in 3 months, cake decisions, RSVP reminders. Then I opened my eyes and saw the gap in the closet where Jason's clothes had been. Right, new tape. My phone was face down on the nightstand. It buzzed once, then again, then again. For a moment, I considered ignoring it entirely, just letting the world happen without me. But avoidance has never really been my thing. I flipped it over. 17 unread messages. Most of them were from people in our wedding group chat. Jason's groomsmen, couple friends, his co-workers' names mixed in with mine. The previews all blurred together. "What happened?" Jason said. "Are you okay? We're here for you, but..." I tapped into the first one. "Riley, I'm so sorry. Jason told us you'd checked out for a while and that he'd tried to fix things. None of us knew it was this bad. If you ever want to talk, I'm here for both of you." I opened the next. "I don't want to pick sides, but Jason said you were seeing someone else emotionally, that the engagement hadn't felt real to you for a long time. I hope you both find happiness." Another. "He told us you guys quietly canceled the wedding weeks ago and yesterday was just tying up loose ends. We had no idea it was sudden." My chest went cold in a way that had nothing to do with heartbreak and everything to do with anger. So that was the story. According to Jason, I had checked out. I had been distant. We had called off the wedding together, and he was just finally following through. I scrolled through the messages, each one layering a new coating of spin over what had actually happened. Me eating cake samples while my fiancé rehearsed his breakup exit. I could have texted back with screenshots of his message, of the map with his little location dot in front of Brittany's mom's house. I didn't. Let them sit in their version for now. I got out of bed on autopilot, showered, put on leggings and an oversized sweater. My reflection in the fogged mirror looked like someone who'd hit pause on their life and forgotten to press play again. Around noon, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a name that made my stomach twist. Melissa, Jason's little sister. She'd been thrilled about the wedding, had texted me photos of bridesmaid dress options, even though she wasn't technically on my side, just so I could weigh in. We'd shared memes about our brothers, in my case, Jason's brother tendencies, inability to load dishwashers correctly. I answered. "Riley?" Her voice was tight. "What the hell happened?" I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "Did Jason not tell you?" "He told me you two had grown apart and decided together to cancel the wedding," she said. "He said you were handling it privately and that he didn't want people taking sides." My jaw clenched. "That's not what happened." "Yeah," she said quietly. "I figured, hence the call." So I told her. I told her about the cake tasting, the way he'd checked out, the text in the parking lot. I told her about coming home to find half his things gone. I told her about logging into our shared account and seeing his location at Brittany's mom's house. On the other end of the line, Melissa went very, very still. "He went to Brittany's?" she asked, voice thin. "He's there now," I said. "Or he was, as of last night." "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God. Riley, I am so, so sorry. I don't even have words. My parents are going to lose their minds." "Do they know anything?" I asked. "He just told them this wedding was off because you needed different things," she said bitterly. "He made it sound mutual. I'm going to kill him, gently, with love." A small broken laugh escaped me. "Do me a favor?" "Anything," she said immediately. "Don't tell him we talked," I said. "Just let it play out. I'm done trying to manage his narrative." There was a pause. "Okay," she said finally. "I won't. But for the record, our family loves you. This is all on him." After we hung up, I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. Then something inside me shifted from shock into motion. I picked up my notebook, flipped to a blank page, and wrote at the top in neat block letters, "Wedding cancellations." Below that, I made a list. Venue, caterer, photographer, florist, DJ. I added, Cake and drew a line through it. Already done. For the next 2 hours, I treated the death of my wedding like a project at work. I called the venue first. The coordinator's voice was sympathetic but brisk. "We'll have to keep the deposit," she said. "It's in the contract." "That's fine," I said. "Keep it. Consider it a breakup tax." Next was the caterer, then the photographer, then the florist. Each call was a little knife, but every "we'll cancel the contract" felt like cutting one of the strings tying me to a future that no longer existed. By the time I hung up with the DJ, my throat was raw and my eyes burned, but there was also a strange, quiet relief settling in my chest. He had detonated our plans. I was the one clearing the rubble. Late that afternoon, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail. Almost. Instead, I answered, "Hello?" There was a short pause, then a woman's voice. "Riley?" "Yes?" "This is Brittany," she said. "Can we talk?" Hearing her name out loud was like someone dropping a glass in the middle of a silent room. I leaned against the counter. "What do you want, Brittany?" Look," she said, words tumbling. "I know this is weird, but I feel like there's been a huge miscommunication, and you deserve to hear my side." "Your side," I repeated slowly. "Interesting. I didn't realize I was in your story at all." "He told me you and Jason had broken up weeks ago," she rushed on. "He said the wedding was already off, that you both agreed it wasn't working. He told me he was free, Riley. If I had known—" "You're at his mom's house, right?" I cut in. "He's there with you?" A beat of silence. "Yes." "Put him on speaker," I said, since this apparently involves all three of us. Another pause, then faint shuffling. I pictured them in some familiar living room, one I'd driven past once, feeling like a foreigner in his old life. Jason's voice came through, tentative. "Riley, you told her we'd broken up weeks ago," I said, "that the wedding was off, that I'd moved on. Did I miss that conversation somehow?" "Riley, I was going to talk to you," he said. "I've been thinking about ending things for a while. I didn't know how." "So you decided the most logical order of operations was 1. Line up a replacement. 2. Tell all your friends I'd checked out. 3. Dump me via text in a bakery parking lot. 4. Drive straight to your ex's house?" My voice was shaking, but my words came out clean. "It's not like that," he protested. "I panicked. I felt trapped. You were so locked in on the wedding, and I—" "And you what?" I asked. "You needed someone more exciting? Someone on your level?" On the other end of the call, Brittany was silent. "You lied to both of us," I said. "You were still living here. You were still wearing your ring. You were eating cake samples with me while texting her that you were free." "I didn't lie," he said weakly. "I just left things out." "That's literally what lying is," I snapped. For a second, no one spoke. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this," he said finally. "How did you mean for it to happen?" I asked. "Were you going to wait until after the wedding? Cheat first, then circle back?" "That's not fair." I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. "You know what's not fair. Texting your fiancé that she's not on your level while you're parked outside your ex-house, that's not fair." He went quiet. On the other end, Brittany cleared her throat. "Riley, I'm sorry. I should have asked more questions. This isn't on you," I said, surprising myself. "You believed what he told you. I did too, once." I hung up before either of them could respond. My hand was shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. I set it down on the counter and braced both palms on the cool surface, breathing in and out until the room stopped tilting. The anger didn't feel wild, it felt precise, clean. 2 days later, around early afternoon, someone knocked on my door. I opened it to find Jason and Brittany standing in the hallway. He looked like he hadn't slept. She looked like she wanted to be anywhere else. "What do you want?" I asked, not moving aside. "Can we come in?" Jason asked. "We need to talk." "No," I said. "You can talk from there." He glanced at Brittany, then back at me. "Riley, this got out of hand. I made some bad choices, okay? But we've all made mistakes." "Is that your pitch?" I asked. "We've all made mistakes, so I should let this one slide?" Brittany spoke up, voice soft. "I just think you deserve a proper explanation. Face to face." "I already have an explanation," I said. "I have a timestamped text and your shared location. That's all the context I need." Jason dragged a hand over his face. "Look, I freaked out about the wedding. I felt like everything was happening too fast. Like there was this conveyor belt I couldn't get off. When Brittany came back, it stirred up a lot of old feelings. I thought—" "You thought you'd test drive your ex before deciding whether to keep your fiancé," I said. "Got it." He winced. "It wasn't like that." Brittany shifted her weight. "We realized we're not actually compatible anymore," she said. "We've both changed. So now that you've confirmed the grass isn't greener, I said, you want to crawl back to the lawn you left half burned and hope I'm still here watering it? That's not what I'm saying, Jason insisted. I love you, Riley. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can postpone the wedding. Take time to rebuild trust. What changed? I asked quietly. He blinked. What? 3 days ago, I wasn't on your level, I said. You needed someone more exciting. What's different now? His jaw tightened. He didn't answer. You didn't come back because you realized what you lost, I said. You came back because it didn't work out the way you hoped with her. You ran an experiment. It failed. And now you want your control group back. That's not fair, he said again, desperation creeping into his voice. People make mistakes. You're really going to throw away our whole relationship over one... Over one what? I asked. One massive betrayal? One carefully orchestrated lie? 1 week where you tried to rewrite reality? He opened his mouth, then closed it. Behind him, Brittany looked at me with something like pity. Riley, she said softly, you don't have to take him back. You know that, right? Even if he thinks you should. I know, I said, and I'm not going to. Jason flinched like I'd hit him. Your stuff is packed in boxes by the door, I said. I'll leave them on the porch tomorrow morning. Don't contact me again, Jason. We're done. You're not even going to consider... Considering taking back someone who demeaned me and ran to his ex the second things got real, I said. No, I'm not considering that. For a second, his face crumpled in a way that might have broken me once. Now it just looked like consequences. Brittany touched his arm. He shook her off. I'm sorry, he said, eyes shining. I'm so sorry. I'm sure you are, I said. Sorry it blew up. Sorry you have to face people now. But you're not sorry enough to accept that this is permanent, and that's the only apology that would matter. I stepped back just enough to close the door. I stood there, hand on the knob, listening to their muffled voices, his frustrated, hers low and tired, as they walked down the hall and out of my building. For the first time since the bakery, the silence that followed didn't feel empty. It felt like mine. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm. For a moment, I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator through the wall. My apartment felt different. Still wounded, but lighter. Like someone had finally opened a window after weeks of stale air. I got dressed, tied my hair into a low ponytail, and carried Jason's boxes to the porch one by one. I stacked them neatly, labels facing outward. Kitchen clothes, bathroom. It looked like the world's saddest yard sale. I didn't wait outside. I didn't want a conversation. I made coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and watched from behind the blinds as Jason and Brittany arrived around 10 a.m. She was driving. He stepped out slowly, eyes puffy, hair unkempt. Brittany walked around to the porch while he stayed by the car. Even from inside, I could see how carefully she avoided looking at my door. They didn't knock. They didn't linger. They loaded the boxes and left without a single word. It was over. Or at least the part involving Jason and Brittany was. The part involving me? That was just starting. Over the next week, the truth leaked into the world like dye spreading through water. It started with Melissa calling me again. He finally told Mom and Dad everything, she said. About Brittany, about the text, about you finding out. How did they react? I asked. My mom cried, she said flatly. My dad told Jason he's disappointed in him, which, to be fair, is the worst thing a dad can say. And both of them asked if they should reach out to you. I said only if you wanted them to. I swallowed. I appreciate that. They really did love you, she said softly. They still do. Later that afternoon, Jason's mom messaged me. A long, careful apology. She didn't defend him. She didn't make excuses. She said she was ashamed of how he treated me and that I deserved far better. Then his dad emailed, offering to reimburse my share of the wedding deposits. I declined both the money and the invitation to talk. Some things don't need postmortems. Friends, though, that was more complicated. Some reached out with sympathy. Some said they had no idea he'd been struggling and hoped we'd find our way back to each other. Some implied I'd been too rigid, too focused on checklists and timelines, as if organization were a personality flaw that justified cheating. Those friendships quietly dissolved, one by one. I didn't bother correcting them. Let them believe whatever makes their world make sense. People reveal themselves when you're no longer useful to them. The most shocking twist came 2 weeks after Jason picked up his belongings. Melissa called again, voice bubbling like a shaken soda can. Oh my God, Riley, she said. You are not going to believe this. What? I asked. Jason and Brittany broke up. I blinked. Already? Yep, she said. Massive meltdown. He accused her of lying to him about the timeline. She said he blindsided her emotionally. They had this huge fight and called it quits. The irony was so sharp it almost made me smile. He keeps asking about you, she continued. If you're okay, if you're dating, if you'd ever talk to him. My heartbeat didn't even change tempo. What do you tell him? I asked. That you've moved on, she said, and that he needs to do the same. Good. There was a pause, then gently. Have you moved on? I looked around my apartment, the half-finished puzzle on my coffee table, the vase of grocery store flowers I'd bought myself 2 days ago, the small, quiet life reassembling itself piece by piece. I'm getting there, I said honestly. Some days are harder, but I'm not waiting for him, and I never will. Good, she said fiercely. You deserve someone who doesn't make you a backup plan. I felt something warm settle in my chest. Gratitude, relief, something close to peace. Another month passed. I went to work. I started going to the gym again. I deep cleaned my apartment, rearranged the furniture, took down the framed engagement photos and replaced them with things that made me smile. Book covers, postcards from friends, a thrift store painting that made absolutely no sense but felt right above my couch. I adopted a dog, a 5-year-old rescue mutt named Murphy, who looked like a lab. A terrier and a gremlin had gotten into an argument and decided to coexist in one body. He chewed my slippers, barked at squirrels, and snored louder than humanly possible. But he also followed me around like I was the sun. He was a mess, but he made me laugh every day. I needed that. Jason didn't stop trying. A long email poured in one evening. Explanations. Context. Things he wished he'd said sooner. I read the first 2 paragraphs, closed it, and deleted it. A month later, a short birthday text. Hope you're well. Thinking of you today. I didn't respond. Then, through Melissa, he asked if we could meet for coffee to get closure. I didn't even hesitate. No, I told her. I already have closure. He just wasn't part of it. Word traveled through our mutual circles that Jason wasn't doing great. Some friends had distanced themselves. His parents were gently furious with him. He'd started therapy, apparently trying to understand why he'd sabotaged a stable relationship for a burst of nostalgia. I didn't take pleasure in it, but I didn't feel guilty either. Healing is not owed to the person who inflicted the wound. 2 months after the breakup, a wedding invitation arrived from a college friend. I held the envelope for a second, expecting some familiar sting, some echo of what should have been. Instead, I felt happy, just happy for him. It startled me, in the best way. Maybe that was the sign I'd been waiting for. Not fireworks, not epiphanies, just quiet, uncomplicated joy for someone else's milestone. A life no longer measured against what I lost. It's been 4 months now. I've gone on a few dates. Nothing serious, nothing promising, but not terrible either. I'm open in a way I wasn't before. Not hopeful exactly, but curious. I know what I won't tolerate. I won't tolerate being made to feel like I'm not enough. I won't tolerate being someone's second choice. I won't tolerate being told I'm not on someone's level by a man who needed 2 women to prop up his ego. People ask sometimes if I'd take Jason back if he showed up tomorrow. Dramatically transformed, genuinely remorseful. The answer is easy now. No, because even if he changed, I have changed. I'm not the woman who would accept that anymore. Last night, I walked Murphy around the block. The air was cool, the streetlights glowing soft gold. As we passed a row of apartments, I caught my reflection in a darkened window. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I recognized her. A woman choosing herself. Not out of anger. Not out of revenge. But out of finally understanding her own worth. And honestly, that's better than any wedding I ever planned.